Sunday's gonna be
Yeah.
worse.
Hi, this is Charlotte Pierce. I'm the producer of Ready Row USA, and we are here at the head of the Charles Regatta 2023 with our special guest, Jennifer Huffman from she's Rose's College Club in Seattle and is a master's rower.
Yep.
And is the granddaughter of Joe Rantz, who you all may know is one of the boys in the boat. So
Yeah.
she is carrying on that fine family tradition.
That is true.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, it's like one of the most fun weekends of the year. It's like
Do you
Christmas
always
for
come?
rowers.
Yeah, it's Christmas for rowers. It's great. I know. I people like walk by. Hi, Charlotte.
Yeah.
You know, like, and if they don't have their rowing gear on, I
Right.
don't
It's
recognize.
like,
them.
who are you? Yeah. I don't recognize you in real clothes.
So I
What's happening
apologize,
right now?
everybody. I say hi.
Hi. Yeah, I'm not sure who you are, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
love you. But anyway, so you're here. Do you come every year?
I've been coming since 2013. So
Yes.
that's the first year that I raced in a single
I see. Yeah.
here. So yeah, but then pretty much straight on from there. I've been here.
And you were. What's your rowing story? That's kind of our theme. This.
So I actually have kind of an interesting rowing story.
All right.
So I did not start rowing until I was 39 years
I
old.
see.
I have always been a gymnastics coach and a dance teacher, and that was kind of my thing, like all the way through from when I was a little kid to till college. And in college, my mom tried to talk me into rowing. She set up an interview
Because of Dad.
Yes, yeah. set up an interview with the rowing coach, and I was like, oh, I was working my way through college, coaching gymnastics, and that was my thing. I was like, nah, not really interested. So,
Yeah.
when my son was in 7th grade, he had some friends that were rowing on the junior team on Lake Stevens, and they were like, you should come and be a cox for us, because he was tiny when he was in 7th grade. So I was like, he doesn't like sports really, so I played the great grandpa card, and I'm like, great grandpa would be so proud of you.
God.
He'd be looking down from heaven. He'd just be so excited that you were trying something like this. And so my son was like, okay, fine, I'll try it. So once I took him, and then there were a bunch of the moms that were going to take a learn to row class. And so I was like, okay, I think I need to try this. And it was like love at first sight, basically. So yeah, so that's how I got into rowing.
It's the story of a lot of us.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
just, I don't know. I started 11 years ago,
Okay.
and now I have a podcast. About
Right.
rowing.
I know.
What the
I
heck?
know. They
I have
really
my own
sucked you
boat.
in.
I waited 7 years for a rack spot at CRI.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah.
Now I can't ever leave the club because I lose my racks.
Right. I know. I'm thinking the same thing. At college club, it's like, I don't know if I'd ever get rack space anywhere else.
So
Yeah.
what about college club? What's I mean, is that where is it? Is it
So college club actually rose now out of what was the old Lake Union boathouse. So I started rowing on Lake Stevens, and I rowed there for a number of years.
Yeah.
With North Cascades crew, and they now actually have a boathouse that is the Joe Rantz boathouse.
That's right. I interviewed them a few years ago.
Yes. So that was the
bit
So that was the kind of connection there.
Yeah.
Was that was where I started rowing. I rowed there for about 8 years, and then I had some people that I had met through erging, indoor rowing competitions and things like that, who were rowers at college club, and they invited me to come and just kind of sub in to an 8 with them occasionally, and I was like, oh, 8, I don't know, I'm more of a sculler. I really haven't done any
there's
sweep
this
rowing,
thing between
right? So but yeah, I tried it and loved it, and so that was.
Do you
kind of where that
mostly
started.
do sweeps now?
I'm about half and half, so
Yeah.
most of the competing that I do now is sweep, but certainly, I definitely scull.
So I
competitively
find
still.
that I don't really care when I do sweeps which side I'm on. Is it?
Oh, I'm a port.
You are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I am not bisexual. I tried the first year that I did sweep rowing. And then that winter, I was like, I really want to try starboard. I want to learn how to do the other side so that, you know, so that I can be more valuable in the boat, be able to switch out and stuff. And I did. I mean, I learned how to row starboard, and I actually raced starboard in a pair.
What?
Yeah. Race starboard in a pair.
Just because you wanted to challenge yourself.
I know.
Right?
But then it was like, no, I'm just playing a port.
Yeah.
Port's just what's more comfortable.
Oh, interesting.
Which is funny because when you scull it, you should be able to really kind of do either way. But port's
But
just
I
most
guess the
comfortable.
Europeans learn sculling more sooner, right?
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
That's what they do first or something. Yeah. Right.
So, but
Yeah. So what brings you to the head of the Charles? I mean, what attracts you to the head of the Charles? And is this your favorite regatta?
Oh my gosh. So I would have to say this is my favorite regatta.
Really?
Yeah. And more just because there's so much rowing here, and not only the amount of rowing that's here, but all of the boathouses and just the whole history of rowing that's here. And I live on the West Coast and really had not been on the East Coast at all before I started coming to Charles. So it's that whole piece of it too. It's like you're on the East Coast, you're looking at the history of rowing here. Plus the fact that you just see everybody. It's like I've seen people from all over the country just today.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh my gosh, hi, oh my gosh, hi. So that part of it's really cool, just that you know that the majority of the people that you know that are like hardcore rowers, they're gonna come to Head of the Charles.
You volunteer too.
Yeah,
I know, and I'm astounded at how well it's run.
Oh yeah,
like people are universally nice. Like the committees and
I've been
at this tent and I had issues with the internet and they sent somebody over.
Oh, nice.
Just unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know how they have the bandwidth to do it.
I can't even imagine like trying to coordinate something like this, or the amount of man hours that you would have to put something like this on. It is amazing. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But they do such a good job. It's just such a fun regatta to come to, and so competitive, and
I know. I feel like maybe I'll compete again next year. I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't do it this year. But, what other regattas have you been to?
So we haven't been competing as much since COVID. So in the past, I would have said, we go to in the spring we go to regionals, and we go to nationals, and those kind of things if they're out on the. Well, I mean, regionals obviously is on the West Coast, but this year, we didn't really do either of those. We really stuck to head racing. So we do like head of the lake and tail of the lake in Seattle, and we did opening day. That was really fun.
What's opening day?
Opening day is the Windermere Cup in Seattle. It is like the big like sprint race in Seattle. So it's a lot of collegiate. So the Huskies invite people from international teams to come and row in this regatta. And it is so fun because they put the log booms out down the Husky race course. So you've got the log booms on the side, and you've got boats that are just like probably 1,500 meters of boats on both, pretty much on both sides, that are just anchored to this log boom. So you're going through all these boats, and then you go through the Montlake Cut. And that's your finish line. And it's the energy is so amazing. So it's not like any other race on the West Coast.
I see that sometime.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Last time I was in Seattle, I was at Ivers.
Oh yeah.
Which is across from that boat. Is that your
it's
boat?
No, our boathouse is literally it's about 800 meters.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's
so I saw a commercial fishing boat. I saw a seaplane landing. And then I saw these rowers out there. Like,
it's a little crazy. It's a little crazy.
And kayaks.
Yep. Dragon boats,
all kinds of boards.
Yep. Yeah. You name it, it's pretty much out there.
But
except for water
so
skiers,
nice.
You really don't see water skiers out there.
Okay,
Thank
that's
goodness.
Fortunate. Or jet skis.
Yes. Not very often.
Yeah.
But the seaplanes are like crazy. Like just being in Lake Union with all because there's
they probably have priority.
They do to an extent. They have a runway that they kind of stick to, so you have to be really aware when you're inside their space that you are not inside their space when there's planes.
And there's another club. I was going to go rowing there, but there's
a bazillion clubs on Lake Union. So there's Lake Washington, rowing club like Union Rowing. You've got SPU, you've got our club, you've got Pocock, you've got, and then there's like Ancient Mariners and some of those kind of clubs
Yeah,
that row out
right.
of those boathouses. Tons of boat clubs. Yeah.
So what else would you? Is there someone you'd like to give a shout out to? And have you been to Granddad's movie?
I did. Okay. Well, so no, I have not been to the movie. I have not seen the movie.
You're
yet.
not. They're not.
No, I have not seen the movie yet.
Okay.
My mom's seen it.
Oh, your mom has seen it.
Yeah, my mom did get to see
Judy.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
she was pleased
as
with
it should be.
She was pleased with it.
Yeah.
So
She was. Oh,
yes,
yeah.
she was. I'm really looking forward
Yeah.
to seeing it.
So
So
you've been down to the tent.
yes,
Down here.
yeah, the tent's really neat.
I got to go there. Yeah.
Oh, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. They got a really nice
I
setup
listened to the book.
On tape.
Yeah, which just kind of made it come alive for me.
Right.
I
I heard it was really good. I
Yeah.
liked that the person who voiced it was
Yeah,
excellent.
so
I
it's
did
George
not listen
Clooney and who plays the granddad?
I
Yeah,
don't even
I
know.
don't know.
I'm so bad with actors and stuff. My husband
I'm
would
bad
probably
enough.
would be like, "What is your problem?"
I know I'm bad enough with friends.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Anyway, so
Yeah.
I have to get down there. What else? What else have you seen down on the strip here?
Well, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, really, we just got here today.
Oh, you
so,
did?
Yeah.
Okay,
So we
yeah.
went out, took a practice row
Yeah.
today, and then it was like, okay, I got to come back. That was first thing though. I had to come back and look in the tent. So got to talk to Mike Callahan a little bit and Eric Cohen, and they're the
nice.
MGW people,
Yeah.
and talk to some of the MGM people a little bit, which is kind of fun.
Oh,
So,
I'm gonna
yeah.
go down there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have any other things that you do in rowing, like organizing regattas, or do you organize a team? Or
No, thankfully, I really don't have to do any of that sort of
just
thing.
show up and row?
Yeah, I kind of just show up and row. Well, I'm a competitive gymnastics coach too, so
Uh-huh.
that's where a lot of my
So
organizational
you do that as well.
energies go.
Yes.
Yes,
That's your
that is not
day
my
job.
That is not my day job.
It's not your day job.
That's my second job.
Oh
So I
my
work
gosh.
like 60 hours a week.
Okay,
I'm a contract analyst
Oh
at
my
Philips
gosh.
Healthcare, and then I work 20 hours a week coaching gymnastics also, along with rowing.
It's kind of like
So-
the more you do, the more you can do. So-
Right, pretty much. Pretty much. Don't ask me when I sleep because that's not a thing.
Yeah. Anyway, well, we really appreciate having you over.
Yeah.
You know, anything else you'd like to?
I would
Tell
like
people
to
about-
tell you, I'll tell you that my favorite story, the story of how the book came to be.
Yes.
And it's an excellent story. It's
Okay.
just like one of those
The
things.
boys
that
in the boat.
Yes. There's one of those things that there's no way that it could have happened the way that it happened. It
Yeah.
didn't happen that way. So when we were moving Grandpa out of his house,
Mhm.
and there was a bunch of stuff in the attic, and I was looking through all of it, and there was a lot of water damage, and things were kind of falling apart in this trunk, and I'm like, we have to organize this stuff so that it's preserved, right?
Yeah.
So I started making a scrapbook of all the Grandpa's stuff, and he was still alive at that point. So
Oh, that's
he-
so great that you did
Yeah.
that before he.
Yes. So we went, and I'll send you a picture
Okay.
of the page of the scrapbook that I have of him holding the scrapbook. Yes, at like 90 years old. It's an excellent picture. So we were, putting the scrapbook together, and we went to Conover Shell House and kind of looked through their old albums that have, all of the newspaper clippings and stuff, and picked out our favorites. And he helped me kind of tell the story of his rowing,
Yeah.
his college years. And so, then we have the scrapbook, and my mom's taking it around to people, and she's people are looking at it and being like, wow, this would make a great book. And my mom is a little bit of an author herself. She likes to write. So the fact that nobody had asked to tell the story of
Yeah.
the book, right? And she kind of tried to, find people to,
Yeah, I remember.
to write it, right? Or to at least report on it or something. And
Yeah.
it really just wasn't getting picked up. And so she figured she was going to have to write something about it so that it was preserved. So she's, writing some stuff. And then she goes to a homeowners association meeting where Dan had just moved into the neighborhood,
Mhm.
Daniel James Brown. And he had brought his first book with him because he just published his first book, Under a Flaming Sky, which was about a firestorm in Hinckley, Minnesota in the 1890s. And so he's like, yeah, I just wrote this book, and if you guys want to read it, and I'll sign it, if you buy it. So my mom took it home and she read it, and the way that Dan tells the story is just like he's just so good at it, right? So my mom is reading this book, and it's about this firestorm in Minnesota, and she can just see it.
I have to read this book.
Yeah,
too.
it's great. Well, between this one and the book on the Donner Party, which were his two other ones previous to this, he was so excited to get to write something that was like uplifting rather than like death and doom. So,
right.
So she's reading this book. It's amazing. She loves it. She's thinking, wow, if he could tell my grandpa or her dad's story, my grandpa's story, the way that he's telling this story, that would be amazing because
and this is
he just told
because
the story so well.
They were neighbors.
Yeah, they were just neighbors. So my mom's like, okay, so I'm going to start reading Grandpa, my dad, her dad, this story. I'm going to read it to him, and we're going to see whether he likes the way that Dan writes. And she didn't say anything to him about it. No mention of, like trying to get this guy to tell your story if you like this book. So
you think he would have been resistant to it?
Yeah, I think it's so hard because for them it was the historical piece of it. It's like you can't communicate what they had in that boat, right? And so I think probably a little bit in their mind, they're like, you can't write down what happened. I mean, like, you just can't communicate it that way. Not because they didn't want to, but just because it was so special to them, right? So my mom starts reading this book to my grandpa, and grandpa's listening to the book, and all of a sudden he says, I know the person in that book. I know Angus Hay. We played in a jazz band together in Swim in high school. And my mom's like, I don't think that probably happened because this is in the 1890s and we weren't born until 1914.
But he meant symbolically?
No. So my grandpa's like, no, I know Angus Hay. I know Angus Hay. And so my mom went back and asked Dan, what happened to this character that was in your story after the firestorm? He said, well, I think they moved out to the Olympic Peninsula. So it was actually that guy's
the actual guy?
son. It was his son, Angus Hay Jr., who was in Dan's other book, played with my grandpa in a jazz band in high school in Swim. I mean, what are the chances of that, right? So that was how my mom kind of got Dan to come over. She's like, hey, so my dad knew a character's son in your book, and he'd really like to talk to you about it, right? So, but by the way, he has this amazing story about the Olympics in 1936. So then Dan came over and talked to my grandpa about this other book and about Angus Hay and Angus Hay Jr. and kind of got him to talk about rowing then. And he told my mom afterwards, he's like, I'll if you want to be the one to write this book, because my mom had asked him some questions and was trying to get like a little bit of input on what she'd written. She'd already showed him what she'd written. He's like, I'll give you input if you want, but if you don't want to write this, I will take it as my next book. Yeah. So it was so perfect. It's like, when does that ever, something like that ever going to happen?
Gives you goosebumps.
It's a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool story.
Yeah. And when was the last time Grandpa rowed?
I think the 50th anniversary row in 1986 was the last one. Yeah.
Story.
Yeah. And I actually got to go. I watched that. In
that's
person.
so amazing.
So, yeah, it was really cool. I was 16. So,
And so did he was alive to see the success of the book?
No,
he wasn't.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
Okay.
The book came out in 2013.
I see.
He died in 2009.
Okay.
So he was alive for Dan to interview initially. He had I think Dan had about 6 months with him before he passed away.
Wow.
So yes, he did
what
not.
A life, huh?
I know.
What
he did not get to
family
read
legacy
it.
That's
but it was really interesting looking at the chapters as he wrote them, because he gave them to my mom to kind of just look over and
didn't she
make sure that it was
find
really
a lot
true.
of material in
she had
attics and stuff?
Well, so she knew that his story wasn't documented very well, and especially the fact that he was abandoned and there weren't, he didn't have pictures and there wasn't stuff there, right, to look back at. So as he got on in years and he was living with her, So he lived with her for about the last 5 years of
Mhm.
his life. And she would just follow him around with a pencil and a piece of paper.
She has like,
And when he said something random,
she'd
you
write
know,
it.
then she'd write it down and she'd ask him questions about it. Because it's like, oh, well, so you remember, stoking firewood at the teacher's wood stove at the Golden Ruby mine. So what happened there? What, can you tell me more about that? So she got a lot of information like that
Wow.
within the last 5 years of his life. But even with that, there were things that Dan found too. And then when the story came together, there's stuff that she wished that she would have asked him after the fact, because you
But
don't
think of
really
that.
know what you don't know until somebody else asks you and you're like, I have no idea.
But that takes incredible presence of
Oh, yeah.
mind to.
Yeah, no, she was on it with
Yeah.
that stuff. And I'm so grateful that she
Yeah.
was able to take the time to do that. And
Dan was probably grateful too.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, he was.
Right.
He was.
Well, thank you for that story.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, you're welcome.
that just gives me goosebumps.
Yeah,
I
it's a
tell you,
great story. I love
Awesome.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For
It was
joining
good to talk
us.
to you.
Yeah. Good luck with your
Thank you.
raising.
Yep.
Long
racing
and
tomorrow.
strong.
Yep.
Yep.
That's exactly it.
Exactly. Okay. All right. We're wrapping up here. This is our last chat for the day, but we'll have Jen back sometime.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. I'm Charlotte Pierce, producer of Ready Row USA, and we wanted to give thanks to our tech support at Arlington Community Media. They've given us access to some of this wonderful equipment. Katie Chang, Jeff Monroe, Alfonso Velasquez, and Johanna Knight is roaming around doing some reporting for us. My company is piercepress.com. I'm a book publisher. And Burnham Boat Slings is one of our supporters, and the CEO of Burnham will be joining us on Sunday, I think. He's coming to talk about his rowing story. Laura Williams is our web designer, laurawilliamspages.com. She will do, if you mention the podcast, she will do a website audit for you. I know, right?
Nice.
Which is nice because a lot of people just neglect their websites. It's just, you got other things to do. Thanks to Community Rowing for all their support and being a wonderful rowing club. And we will be broadcasting live from the regatta again tomorrow, Saturday the 21st, and Sunday the 22nd. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Take care.